And what we're going to do this morning is talk about the weekend's Premier League football. It was a fascinating weekend, and there's lots to talk about, and I'm joined by John Giles. And John, it was a fascinating weekend, and I think one of the most interesting games was Manchester United Chelsea yesterday. There's been a lot of talk about both clubs in a way. Frank Lampard, the new manager or head coach at Chelsea, and of course Manchester United with all the stuff about Pogba. Was he coming? Was he going? Was he going to Real Madrid? Harry Maguire signing for them, but a feeling, I think, among Manchester United fans that they really needed to do a bit more in the transfer window. They lost Lukaku, for example, and they didn't sign a forward player. Now, the game itself was really interesting. I put it to you that in the first 20 minutes, Chelsea were very impressive in the way they passed the ball, the movement, the commitment, the tempo.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Eamon. I thought they started very well. United didn't get a grip of the game early on. And unfortunately for Chelsea, they didn't score. I mean, I know they hit the bar and they hit the upright, went close to it. They were the better team. But as we know, the goals dictate the game.
And it was 18 minutes in when United got a foothold, and it was a penalty. Terrible tackle by Zuma.
Yeah, well,
for no purpose.
No, well, he's likely to do that at any time, as we know. And I think there was, they had certain qualities, Chelsea, in certain areas, but where it mattered up front to get a goal, and at the back to defend goal, they were weak. Yes. They didn't look like apart from I think it was the left back hit the upright, and it was.
Yeah, I mean it was Tammy Abraham who hit the post, and then it was Emerson, the left back, hit the crossbar. They were two great efforts, yeah.
But
that could have changed everything.
Oh, well, it always is, always ifs and buts. Obviously goals dictate games. They didn't get it, but they didn't really look like scoring.
Afterwards.
No. United didn't either for a long time, but they did have players who eventually did score for them and were likely to score. Chelsea didn't have anybody.
No, I mean, there would have been a lot of pressure on that United team going out. There always is. You played for United. You know what it's like to go there. There's always pressure. First game of the season. All the Pogba stuff, but the penalty, which Rashford took really well, he hit it high and right in the corner. It took a lot of guts because the keeper guessed right, but now they're 1-0 up. Now they really start to buzz.
Yeah, well, again, the goals dictate the game. I mean, the crowd get behind you, all the various things. It gives a player confidence. Chelsea didn't have that to get in front to give them what was needed, the impetus to go on. And Manchester United, again, the goals dictate everything, and it gives the players confidence. Rashford did take the penalty well, despite the fact that Pogba was playing.
Yes.
There was rows last year, remember, who would take the penalty, who wouldn't take the penalty. He took the penalty, very similar to the penalty scored against Paris Saint-Germain in the
fight,
indeed.
When
match.
He had to wait a long time in Paris.
Yeah.
But he's got bottle.
Oh, yeah.
He's where he played yesterday, it was one of the interesting features of the match. He played more as a striker. He wasn't wide. Martial played through the middle, and he played as a kind of down the channel.
Yeah.
But not the way Mourinho played him, where he had him wide on the left. That's not his position. I think he's
he's best up front then. But they had Lukaku. You see, they had a few players that they had to fill him in more or less in that position, and he could do a job on the left hand side or the right hand side. Rashford, but definitely his best positions up front. Martial, as we know, played as a left winger last year. And they put him up front as a dual striker to try him out. Well, they don't have any other. Well, we've got Lingard and that, but they haven't got the strikers.
And they've got Sanchez, but
Sanchez is not going to play. I mean,
no.
By the looks of it, was he on the bench even yesterday?
I'm not sure, but the thing is, I don't think he was. But the point is that he doesn't appear to care at United. I mean, one of the big things about Sanchez when he was at Arsenal was he got a big heart, and he covered ground. and he was aggressive. I mean, but I don't think Martial is going to be the answer. I don't think he can play that position as centre forward. But the game had turned now, and there was some interesting. I thought Harry Maguire, for example, in the first 20 minutes, I also thought he looked a bit tentative.
But it'd be a bit despite
big for him.
It was a big day. But he grew. He got better as the game went on. Yeah. But going back to the Chelsea's weaknesses up front, they didn't open the score goals, and they had Zuma. Like Chelsea were going, well, they give a silly penalty away. Yeah. And it changes the whole game. You can't afford to do that.
Now, on that point,
that started on that, and so it's got United going on the up and up then.
On that point, Zuma was on loan to Everton last year, and Everton wanted to buy him. Lampard said, no, I want to take him back. At the same time, in a surprise move last week, Lampard let David Luiz go to Arsenal for $7 million.
Yeah.
Now, the point was made this morning, actually, in the Irish Times by Ken Early, and I think it's a good point. Wouldn't David Luiz have been better, given you're only getting $7 million for him, to keep him? He's experienced. He's a long career as an international. Yes, he's a bit flaky. I think you and I would both agree with that. But he's better than Zuma.
Better than Zuma, I mean. It doesn't make sense to let a player go unless you've got a better player coming in.
Yeah.
And Frank Lampard has done that. I mean, he's a new manager. Honestly believe that was the right thing to do. I think very few people would agree with that, because Zuma, it's not just yesterday. I mean, he's well known for making mistakes.
Yeah.
And as you say, he was at loan to Everton for a long time. I mean, you don't let top players go out.
No, and they have loan. Rudiger, who wasn't available yesterday, was injured, but Rudiger is a good player.
Yeah.
German international, top player, and he can come in, but you've no cover. But the thing about Luiz is, for all our reservations about his flakiness, he's composed on the ball, he can find a pass, and he has vast experience. In that situation yesterday, where Zuma was a stupid foul on Rashford. Rashford was going nowhere, and it was just clumsy. It didn't save a goal or anything like that. You wouldn't be letting Luiz go for $7 million.
No, I would let Luiz go.
Yeah,
gladly, if I could get somebody better.
Right,
that's the problem, Eamon.
Yeah,
like it's. I don't fancy Luiz at all. I would get him out. Because there's loads of mistakes in him as well. He can be very talented, he can be very good, but you can't depend on him, and defenders you have to depend on. I would let him go, but you have to get a replacement that's better.
Yeah.
Or else it's bad business.
So that was a costly decision. Yeah. You could argue, no question about that. Now, the second goal came, they went in at half-time, but they picked up United. They're a new team. Wan-Bissaka is making his debut at right back, and he was good.
Yeah.
Harry Maguire's making his debut centre half, and over the 90 minutes, he was efficient, accomplished, looked fine. You've got Rashford and Martial up front. You've got sort of young players as a group. Shaw at left back. They're a young group, but the second goal I thought was a transformative moment. It was a good cross in from the right, from Wan-Bissaka, and Martial tucked it away, got on the end of it. Now they're 2-0, and they got together as a group. You could see them when they were celebrating the goal. This is it. This gives them a cushion now. And from that point on, I thought they were very, very keen to get on the ball, very impressive. Pogba in particular. We must talk about Pogba, as I think I don't rate him. You rate him a bit more. Graham Souness was very strong in yesterday's Sunday Times. He said, I'd get him out of the club. First thing I'd do. And he said it again on Sky, where he was on with Jose Mourinho. And, of course, Pogba had a really good game yesterday. In the second half, he played
Well, he made two dramatic things. I mean, two things were vital to the game, which is setting up to two last goals. Actually, up to that, he didn't play very well at all. But he's capable of doing that. That's the thing with Pogba. The ball he played for Martial's goal, was it?
Yes.
Was a brilliant, brilliant.
It was a brilliant outside of the foot.
Yeah,
beautiful chip.
He's capable of doing that. There's no doubt about that. He has terrific talent, but he doesn't use that talent all the time in a professional way.
Yeah.
And I think the situation in the summer where he's definitely saying publicly he wants to go to Real Madrid. Well, in that case, you get him out. Now he played okay up to the second half where he made the two goals. He made a good run, which he's capable of doing.
The power he showed for the last goal. For the goal that James, he making his debut from Swansea, cost 17 million. He's only a young lad. The power was impressive. And it's something we've rarely seen from him in the United shirt. Power in terms of, and with end product.
Well, he's a powerful guy, I mean, and it depends how you use that power.
Yeah.
He doesn't always use it to the best advantage.
No.
But he's capable of doing it. But it's the inconsistency that does it. And what surrounds Pogba in the Manchester United dressing room and the Manchester United setup. I mean, the Solskjaer said a couple of weeks ago, I don't know what all the fuss about. He's a great lad. I've never had any trouble with him. And in the meantime, Pogba's in the paper saying, I want to go to Madrid. Oh. And he just about turned up to go.
Yes, that's right.
On the trip, that carry on, which I think that's what Graham Souness would be talking about. That on the pitch, a lot of times he's not very professional, and he has caused trouble. So you got to get him out. But on yesterday, definitely at a time in the match when he helped to get Manchester United on top, and obviously once you get the goals that they got, then everybody wants to play. I mean, you know the old saying in football. Yeah. When you're two down, nobody wants the ball. Yeah. When you're 2 up with 10 minutes to go, everybody wants to eat the ball.
Yeah.
And that's what gives them confidence and obviously deflates the opposition like Chelsea.
Yeah, so Chelsea ended up looking very ragged.
Yeah, they were ragged
and they have players like Mason Mount, who's a kid. Frank had him at Derby last year on loan. He scored 9 goals in the Championship. And Tammy Abrahams, again, he was at Swansea last year. Championship football. And no matter, I thought their attitude was very good for the first half of the game. Even once they'd conceded, they still tried to play. But attitude and shape and tactics will only take you so far. In the Premier League, you need quality. Yeah. As you say, up front, there's no one to get a goal. At the back, they're shaky, with Zuma being at the heart of the defence.
Well, that's trouble, Eamon. If you look at Manchester United, they bought players in the summer. Chelsea can't buy any players
until next summer.
And he did leave a few players out.
He left Alonso. I'm surprised they left Alonso on the bench.
What about Kante?
And Kante, who he said was recovering from a knee injury. Now, I think you and I believe if he's fit enough to be on the bench, then why don't you start him?
Yeah, but you can start him and then take him off. I think Mourinho said that afterwards. I think there was a bit of misunderstanding when that was relayed to Frank Lampard. But Mourinho did actually say, I can't understand it because why not put him on for the first half hour rather than the last half hour when things are going, which I would agree with. And he had Kante out. He had Alonso out, as you say, although the left back is not a bad player.
No, he's a good player,
And Giroud was on the bench. And they had another experienced player now. I can't think what it was. But there was a few experienced players that Mourinho was making the point, especially first match of the season at Old Trafford. You could win with the experienced players. Yeah. I mean, which I agree with. And I always find if a player's on the bench and there's a possibility that he can come on at a certain time, well, start him. Yeah. And then if it's not working out, you can take him off rather than the other way around. I mean, Kante came on when the game was over. There was nothing he could do. But anyway, that's by the way. But from Manchester United's point of view, they did spend money on players. Chelsea haven't been able to do that. And there was a lot of young players playing, inexperienced players playing. Yes. From Chelsea's point of view. So Frank Lampard, like most managers, will take the good things out of it after match. We did so much for 60 minutes. Yeah. But unfortunately the game was for 90 minutes. And they did okay. But maybe when he gets the experienced players back in, it would be better for him. But from Manchester United's point of view, a good start. Has to be a good start when you're winning, and it breeds confidence as well for the match, long match. Now, they weren't convincing, in my opinion, in the 4-0 game. That, you know, some 4-0 games you play absolutely brilliantly, but they hit a spell after they scored the second goal, third goal quickly on top of each other. And full credit to them for doing that. Yeah. But you know, Maguire, I think, will be a terrific player for them. Now, at the middle of the field, Eamon, is going to be a problem for them, I think.
Yeah, Pereira played in there, and I thought he contributed nothing.
No,
just work.
McTominay he's a worker.
No, yeah, but not really.
He's not really what you want. Then Pogba, if he's going to do it all the time, it's okay. But you can't rely on him. You can't rely on him to do it.
I think
anyway. You know?
I also, I think that it's a big start for them. Yeah. It's a big result. They'll gain a lot of confidence from it. Martial is centre forward. I don't think he's got the knowledge and the craft to play in that position. But good start for Manchester United, which, you know, in a general way is good for the game.
Yeah. It wasn't a bad start for Chelsea, I mean, with what they had.
No.
You know what I mean? I think they will get better. And you made a point about Frank Lampard now, with coming into this particular job. Yeah. I think the plus for him is the expectancy is not high.
No.
People, the supporters know he can't buy players. He's got to go with the young players, and he's very popular with the crowd.
Yeah.
It's not like, say, Steve Bruce going to Newcastle.
No.
Where the crowd are against him before he even starts. There was gaps there yesterday where the fans didn't turn up. Yeah. Whereas Frank Lampard has gone into a situation where he's been a terrific player for them. They can't buy players. He's got to play with young players. So I think the pressure will be off him in that particular way. I mean, if you go back to last year when Sarri went there, Sarri won 2 trophies.
Yeah.
And the crowd couldn't take to him at all because they didn't like him from the start. So I think Frank Lampard has
a lot of credit in the bank.
In the bank for him, yeah.
Now, John, the weekend for me, the most impressive performance by a mile was Manchester City. I thought they were awesome against West Ham. I've often been critical of Guardiola in this sense. I think he doesn't pay enough attention to defending, and he's had some dodgy defenders in his teams, not just this team at Manchester City, but I have to say their performance at West Ham was awesome. Yeah. I thought, in terms of what he's getting from Raheem Sterling, in terms of Sterling's finishing, which is clinical now. Remember, he was always missing chances he should score. Yeah. But he's playing him up the middle now. Yeah. The other player that he's improved is Walker. He's disciplined, Walker. Remember Walker at Spurs and when he first went to City, bombing down the right wing, crosses going over the bar, banging into people. Always had this power and this pace. But for the first goal against West Ham, it was he timed his run. He really bombed down into a great position, got a good pass and delivered to the near post. Jesus scored the goal, broke the deadlock, got them off. But he's improving players, and I could not fault them at all. I was hugely impressed by them.
Yeah. I thought they were very good, in as you say, with their attitude. Their attitude when they don't have the ball is great. No matter who it is, you know, whether it was as you say up front, chase them down, and that's why. And funny enough, he's never really taken to Aguero.
Yeah,
in the way that you would expect him to do. You know, what a great player, and he's going to score vital goals. And I think in his head, watching it, Guardiola, he's still not doing
enough.
What I want him to do.
Depressing
game, you know. And like he hasn't started, but he insists on everybody. It doesn't matter who it is going to do it. Which obviously, I think that is his philosophy. I mean, they do it. They defend from the front.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I don't think his emphasis on. I think he's a big loss not get Maguire, for example.
Yes,
because company anyway. But I think he believes if we press them from the front, then we don't have to defend as much as other teams.
They don't.
But that's not to say that they should be defending.
Well, I think when you come to Champions League and the big teams, you have to defend.
Yeah, you have to defend against any team at some stage, and they do concede goals that you would say, well, they shouldn't do that. But on the weekend, I thought West Ham were going to give them a good game.
Yeah.
You know, Pellegrini's been there a couple of years now, and he did say himself before the match, now I have the players that I've...
Yeah, they spent 70 million in the summer, which for West Ham is...
Yeah, and they played him off the pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt, like, they scored the goals at the right... Well, it was always the right time to score goals. But they just played him off the pitch, and they were very impressed with what they did. The work rate, when West Ham had the ball, was as good as I've seen from City. Now, winning it back straight away and then getting on with it.
I mean, one of the things that you judge a coach by, one of the big things, is do they improve the players they've got? Are they working with players? Are they improving them? Raheem Sterling, I remember you saying to me when he was at Liverpool, I fancy this guy. He's going to be something. And at that stage, clearly he had ability, but there was discipline issues. There was end product, you know, whether it was a cross or a finish. The end product was there at the weekend and was towards the end of last season as well. He actually has more composure now in front of goal. I mean, the chip goal he got at the weekend was gorgeous. And Guardiola's using him now as a front player where his pace is devastating.
Yeah. Well, again, if they have the players to back him up, Eamon, like they have the midfield. De Bruyne is back into the team now. They David Silva, they Bernard Silva. They've got the new lad in
Rodri.
They're all good footballers. Yeah, you know. And the two wingers, if he gets Sane back in,
that's going to take 6 or 7 months.
Yeah,
now.
I know that is.
He has an anterior cruciate ligament, which
it's serious.
It's gone,
but he has other players to fit in. Luckily enough, in that sense. So they're all, you know. Once you get Sterling in. He's not going to be, if you played him, say, at Manchester United at the moment, in an orthodox forward position, I don't think he'd get a kick of the ball.
Right.
Because he wouldn't get the supply at Manchester City to get the positions that he's in.
Yeah.
And that's what he's done. But it was a good performance because West Ham, when they started off, I thought West Ham before the match was going to give them a hard game.
Yeah.
And it turned out they didn't. No. They rolled all over them.
No, but the way I think that period, I think of 20, 25 minutes before City got the breakthrough goal, which Jesus Scott, you know, and which Kyle Walker contributed hugely to with the run he made, which was perfectly timed. Like there was none of that sort of headbanger stuff that he used to do. The power and pace he has now is used in a controlled way.
Right,
But in that 25 minutes, all over the pitch. No West Ham player had a minute on the ball. They were crowded out. There was 5 or 6 black shirts, which is City's colour on Saturday, all around them. Yeah. And that sort of requires commitment, fitness, and everyone doing it. Yeah. And I think that's the answer. I mean, that's the Aguero thing. I think even one player not doing it. Yeah. Bugs Guardiola.
I'd say so. Well, that's why he's like, he's left him out of the... And he come in again, Aguero, and score his goals, there's no doubt about that. And a terrific player.
Well, and just while we're on him, John, Raheem Sterling had 2 goals to his name when City got a penalty. Now Aguero had been brought on as a sub, and he wouldn't give... it's just about the psyche of strikers. Sterling went to pick up the ball, to take the penalty, to get his hat-trick. Yeah. And it's game over at that stage anyway. And Aguero wouldn't give him the ball.
I think he was bang on, Aguero.
You do? That's the way they are.
I'll tell you why. Actually, I got into trouble at Leeds. I'll tell you in a minute over that. It's anybody will take the penalty when you're 4 up.
Yeah.
If you're a penalty taker, you have to take the penalty. There's nobody putting their hands up that much. When there's no score, semi-final of the cup, a minute to go. Yeah. Everybody's saying, well, you better take that one. Yeah. And that's what I always believed. At the time at Leeds, I was the penalty taker.
Yes.
And we played in a match one night. I think we were winning 6-0.
Yeah.
And Albert Johansson, the left winger, was on a hat-trick. Mm. And the crowd, he was very popular with the crowd, Albert. Yeah. And the crowd was shouting for that. And I said, no.
Right.
And I think the crowd disliked me for years afterwards. I thought, because that was my attitude. Yeah. I said, no, Albert, if we're penalty, minute to go in the semi-final, Albert was one of the last guys.
He'd run away.
That would want to take it. And I thought, well, this is my job. I have to take it.
Yeah.
Good times, bad times, you take it. And I think that was Aguero's approach. So hang on, I take them all the time. Like anybody can take me when you're
Yeah.
5-0 up or 4-0 up at that particular time.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's the correct way,
no,
but I think that's what Aguero was.
But it's also a striker's mentality.
But it's the striker's mentality.
He wants a goal.
But it's the penalty. I mean, I wasn't a striker, but I was the penalty taker.
Yeah, but it was the first game of the season in his case as well.
Yeah, he wants
a goal.
Yeah.
And I'd say he's just come back from the Copa America, so maybe he's, his goal scoring record means he's a player that I think.
I think it would still be the main thing, Eamon. I'm the penalty taker.
Yeah.
I take them in the good days and the bad days.
Yeah, I think he's a player. I think you're right that Guardiola has a dilemma with because he loves Jesus. Now, Jesus is another player who took a year. He didn't have a great season last season. He lost his confidence in front of goal. He looked very jumpy and agitated, but he had a good Copa America for Brazil and he played really well at the weekend. He got that crucial opening goal, and it was a good goal.
Yeah.
So he's a player you like.
Yeah, I think he's still very young. I think he's still only 21.
Yeah.
And he's played for Brazil. He did go through a bad spell last year. There's no doubt. He lost his confidence, and strikers, if they lose their confidence, are going to look terrible. But it looks like he's back again, and I think that would be good coaching from Guardiola.
Yeah.
To get into his head. So don't worry about it. You'll come good. You'll come good. Just. I think he'll be a top player, and he has this ability to chase down that Aguero doesn't have.
Yeah.
Now, we're not being hard on Aguero because Aguero is brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Great players of the Premier League
era. If this guy's going to get goals as well as the work rate, he's going to be in the front. Yeah.
Now, just a couple of things. Rodri, the new guy from Atletico Madrid, 6'3", he's tall, big lad.
Yeah.
He got caught in possession in the box early on when it was 0-0. I think someone played the ball into him. He was a bit surprised, and it was questionable whether in getting it back, he'd given a penalty away. He made a few errors early on, but he grew into the game. What do you make of him?
I like him, Eamon.
Yeah.
I find watching him play, there were certain occasions in it, maybe Guardiola will have a look at it afterwards, where he could have turned on the ball.
Yeah.
Like most field players at the moment are not turning on the ball. If it's played into them with an opportunity to turn, they're stopping it and giving it to the fullback.
Yeah.
That's become part of the game. Whereas in midfield, any opportunity you have to turn on the ball, it only makes sense. Now you're looking the right way. Can you put somebody through and you're linking up in the game? If you give it to the fullback, you're starting all over again.
Yeah.
And when I see him play, I think there's a little gap there.
Yeah.
Get into it, turn on the ball. Now you're really, really changing the game.
Yeah.
He did it on occasions, but there were other occasions where he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I think he's capable of doing it.
He can put his foot in as well.
Yeah, he's a big lad. I mean, you see what's happened now in the games, the defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
Defensive midfielder is only expected to tackle.
Yeah.
Right? Defensive midfielders can tackle and turn on the ball.
Yeah. The other player, key player for City, I think this season will be De Bruyne. And I think he had difficult season last season, a couple of bad injuries. Now, I think we both think he's gifted but moody.
Yeah, he seems to be a funny type of lad in terms of, I've seen him a couple of times, Eamon, where there was two players involved in a mistake.
Yes.
And he was the one throwing his arms up in the air.
Yeah.
And he's inclined to do that. When Guardiola says, listen, I don't want any of that nonsense. You just get on with the game.
Right.
But it's a bit like, it wasn't my fault in that. And I don't like to see that in the team. If he has something on the pitch that he doesn't like, you can say it to a teammate without anybody knowing anything about it.
The season before last, which was Guardiola's first championship winning season, I thought he was powerful.
Yeah.
He played deeper, but he drove the team forward. He could score a goal from long range. But also, it's got a good range of passes. He sees a pass. At his best, he's a very, very good player.
I mean, he's a terrific player. If like all the terrific players that you've known, I've known, are players who, if he makes a mistake with somebody, you don't get up about it. You don't point the finger at somebody else.
Well,
and
it's a team game.
He's in his, but it's in him. Now, I think last year he'd come out of the World Cup, I think. You remember the previous year. And I don't think he ever really got fit.
Right.
And I think at times, and even this season I've seen him, I think he's playing too far forward on the right-hand side. His best position is definitely making it from the middle of the field. Yeah. And what's happened now, I think, with De Bruyne, he was the one that was bringing other people into the game with good passes. Now he's dependent on somebody to bring him into the game.
Right.
And there's nobody capable of doing what he does
yes.
for his sake. So I think you should drop him a little bit deeper because he's really, really good on the ball. He does pick out the pass better than any other player.
Okay, now, John, Liverpool, Friday night, Norwich at home. There's no easy games in the Premier League. I think it's probably just about possible to say that these days. But Norwich just promoted, and Liverpool got the dream start, an own goal after 7-8 minutes. One of the Norwich players' own goal, and Liverpool had looked up for it anyway. They were pressing very high. They were swamping Norwich in their own half, and Norwich were trying to play out from the back, and it was 2-0 very quickly with Mo Salah, and it was 4-0 very quickly. But in between those bursts, Norwich were able to make progress. They did try to pass the ball. They got in behind Trent Alexander-Arnold on a number of occasions down that side, down the left side, their left side. And eventually they got a goal in the second half. The point I'd like to put to you is, I mean, clearly you get 4 goals by half time. You are going to take your foot off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought they lost their concentration collectively and individually. And I thought that if Norwich, they could have scored 3 or 4 goals. They got into positions. They scored 1, but they could have scored 3 or 4. They did get in behind Liverpool. Trent Alexander-Arnold's positioning as a fullback was poor. He was never on the cover. He was sucked into the middle of the field. And despite the fact that it was comfortable for Liverpool, I didn't think they were great in some aspects of the game.
Well, there is.
I'd contrast that with City at West Ham on Saturday in terms of their collective discipline and collective concentration.
Yeah, well, to be fair, City never went 4-0 up, Eamon. I'm not saying it's the correct thing to do, but players do switch off at 4-0 up. There's no doubt about that. I think what was a bit of a worry was that they gave chances away in the early part of the game.
Yes,
against Norwich. There's these 2 chances that they could have scored.
Yeah,
and what I noticed with them, now whether it's going to be a plan or not, Eamon, is they're increasing the high line.
Yeah.
You know, they're increasing, like even for the goal, like if you look back at the goal they scored, Van Dijk is looking across. I think it was Alexander might have played a play. And I think that's been emphasised too much this season, where we've got to get out.
Yeah, we've only seen them play twice, and the Community Shield was a good example of that again. Now, I thought in the Community Shield it was the pace of Sterling in particular that caught them, because he broke from midfield and he could have scored 2 or 3 goals in that match.
Yeah.
But if that's
a couple of them were kick-outs, Eamon, from the goalkeeper, you know, but they seem to be, I don't know what, that's what I see, is that we're going to push up more than we did last year. And obviously it's leaving it. Now, a lot of the teams won't be able to capitalise on that because they won't be good enough. But it's even Norwich and the one that the lad scored, like they were out at the edge of the box. They didn't, nobody went with the runner and that you would expect. So it's just for your listeners or for all of us anyway, just to look out for it.
Yeah.
It's an extra push up.
Yeah.
Rather than.
Well, one of the things that's changed is, and I think it's a positive change. Last couple of months, last season, Jordan Henderson, I think, got a freer role. He was breaking forward, because before that he'd been a kind of holding midfield player, passing the ball square, doing the usual things. A good player, but you felt there was more there. And I think Klopp has said, and Henderson has said, Klopp said, look, I want you to score more goals. I want you to take more attacking positions. And I think he did. And he did get a couple of crucial goals.
I think it was Henderson said that.
Yeah, Henderson. Yeah.
To him.
Oh, to him, right? Okay.
Yeah,
well, however it came about, it's certainly a factor now. And I noticed the other night. What it means is that Henderson is a much more aggressive player, and it showed in the Champions League games as well, going forward, and he can do it. Fabinho then becomes an all-out holding player who doesn't really get forward at all, and Fabinho has ability. So that arrangement has changed, really. Fabinho sits, Henderson goes, but it does mean that if Henderson's, way ahead of the ball very often, and it breaks down, they are short in midfield.
Yeah, but the short in midfield, Emma, but that has nothing to do with the back four doing what they're doing.
Well, it can get sucked in, you see. If you're short there...
They're not getting sucked in, Emma. Yeah. You know, Van Dijk and these terrific players, you judge at what's going on at any particular time.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt, Henderson might not be in the middle field as much as he was, but it doesn't mean that the back four have to get out.
No.
At the wrong time. That's what I'm trying to explain. It seems to be a policy this year more than last year.
So it's something we have to watch
out for players getting behind them.
Yeah.
The things that they didn't do, because I think we've got to press it.
Yes.
It's a bit too much. It's just something that seems to be there that wasn't there last year.
Right. So I think when we were here last week talking with Liam, I think the three of us agreed that it's going to be the two again, Liverpool, Man City. On the basis of the start at the weekend, City more disciplined, had improved, and in particular Sterling had finishing deadly. So that was a better start, despite the fact that Liverpool scored their 4 goals. Now, the other team I want to talk to you about, John, is Spurs. Playing at home to Villa. We both watched the match together. This Villa took the lead, and the deserved lead. They played well for a while.
Yeah.
Then they dropped back.
Yeah.
In the second half, and there was a goal coming. The guy who got it was Ndembele, a new player for Spurs. They signed him from Lyon for 70 million. He's only 22, and he hadn't started the game well. He took the goal well, the equalising goal.
Yeah,
he took it really, really well. And then Jack Grealish, who'd had a good game, gave the ball away stupidly. About 3 minutes from the end, Harry Kane gets on the end of it, 2-1, and then 3-1.
Yeah.
So Eriksen came on as a sub, and according to all the papers, he was the man who turned the game around. I didn't quite see it like that, did you?
No. I think, to be honest, I think that's easy for the papers to say. Well, he come on, so therefore that happened. He made a contribution. Of course he did. He's a good player, Eamon. And I think Spurs were always going to win in the way that Aston Villa.
Well, we've seen this movie before, haven't we? A team goes away to a big club, they get a goal in front, and slowly but surely they stop making their forward runs. They get deeper and deeper, and then it's a mistake.
Yeah. And that's what happened. But what's the worry about Spurs, Eamon, is Eriksen obviously looks like he's going to go away. He's on the bench. There's one or two other players, Vertonghen.
Well, Vertonghen was left out. He was sitting in the stand.
Yeah, he wasn't even. So you wonder what's going on there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we saw Pochettino's statement a few weeks ago, which was very telling, in fact, and very, very public. And he said, I don't want to be named as the manager anymore.
Yes.
I want to be named as the coach.
And he said that in the context of people were asking him about players who were being signed or players who were coming in or going out.
Yes.
And he said, this has nothing to do with me.
Exactly.
Therefore, you can't call me the manager. I'm just a coach.
Yeah. Well, he was laying down the rule in see, if he says nothing and the people who are bringing in the players are not his players.
Yeah.
Right? Ultimately, it's the manager.
Yeah.
If he's not doing well, is getting the blame. So he's getting the blame for decisions he didn't make.
Yes.
So what he was saying publicly is, don't judge me by the players we're bringing in now.
I don't want responsibility without power, which is something I think you quit management because you said there's no point in doing this job. There's no way you can do the job. And you were managing a Premier League club at the time, West Brom. There's no way you can do this job unless you have the power to say who's coming in and who's going out.
Well, it's 90% of the job, in my opinion, in management. So Pochettino was laying down the law here because there was two other people, I can't think of their names, and Levy, who were the committee that were making decisions on players. Now, I think if you got two people in there making the decisions, they wouldn't be Pochettino's men. they'd be Levy's men. So when it came to a vote and what was coming in and going now, it was going to be Levy that was making the decision.
Yeah.
So I think what Pochettino was saying, it's not me.
No.
I'm a coach.
Right.
And I'll coach the players as best I can with the players that but I'm not bringing them in.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on there. I mean, you say Vertonghen, what's the situation? What's the situation with Eriksson? Dele Alli, I don't know whether he's injured or whether he is injured. I think he's injured. So there was 3 or 4 big players
missing
from Spurs the other day. And we don't know exactly what the situation is.
Now, looking at the 2 teams that came up, Norwich, who came up automatically, Villa, who came up as a result of the playoffs. I thought Villa looked a much better side. And Grealish, who we had a chance of getting for Ireland, we didn't get him in the end. He's a good player, John.
He's very
although
good player,
he was at fault for the equalising goal.
Well, he gave the goal away.
Yeah, it was unforgivable, really. Yeah. But he is a good player.
Yeah, I think he's a very good player, Eamon. As you said, Villa probably put up a better show, but they weren't playing Liverpool away. I like Norwich in certain ways, Eamon, because they did against Liverpool what they were doing all last year.
Yes,
and they weren't good enough to do it. Liverpool were too good for them. But I think they should do better. I think they'll do better than Villa.
Really?
Overall, yeah I do, yeah.
They certainly have a willingness to pass the ball.
And keep going. They kept going, to be fair to them. They were in.
And Liverpool didn't score in the second half. So there was no collapse out there.
No.
Unlike West Ham, for example, who did collapse.
Collapsed totally, yeah. But even in the second half, they did score.
Yeah.
You know, I think Norwich will do okay. I think they will get some hidings as well.
Yeah.
Against some of the better teams.
Now, just to talk about something that is really very serious, you watched the Arsenal-Newcastle game, which I didn't get a chance to see, but I did see the news, and it's very serious news, that Mehmet Ozil and Kolasinac, the 2 lads who were attacked on the street last week by people intent on robbing them, they didn't travel because their lives have been threatened by gangsters, and they have security around their homes. They had to go into hiding, so they didn't travel. Arsenal travelled to Newcastle without them, and Aubameyang, who was the joint top goal scorer in the Premier League last year, which I think was some feat. He scored the winning goal. Yeah. John, what did you make of that game? What did you make, first of all, of Newcastle and Steve Bruce? Will they struggle?
They looked okay for a long time, Eamon. Didn't really look like scoring, but neither did Arsenal.
They sold Perez, who was a big contributor to their goals tally. Sold him Leicester, so that's a tough job for Steve Bruce.
A very tough job to go into, Eamon. It was a tough job for Benitez there, anyway, who did a great job. I think everybody would agree that he did a great job of what he had there. They were okay, they were competent. Arsenal weren't great. Mkhitaryan,
there's no heart for the game, is he?
No, he didn't. Aubameyang took his goal really well.
He did, yeah. I saw that. I saw the goal, yeah.
So I think Arsenal they're more likely to score than Newcastle without being... You couldn't say, well, there was a brilliant performance. It was a workmanlike performance, and they did okay. Newcastle worked hard, but didn't have it. I think they're going to have that type of season. I think overall they'll be okay. I think they won't be relegated, Newcastle. But I think it's going to be hard work for Steve Bruce.
Okay, John, thank you very much for that. As I say, it was a really interesting Premier League start. And it's going to get even more interesting. Personally, I welcome Manchester United's destruction of Chelsea, not because of anything against Chelsea or Frank Lampard, but I think it's good to have United on the front foot. And I would say one other thing about the weekend, John, the Stretford end gave our friend Graham Souness dog's abuse over Pogba. He was very adamant in the Sunday Times yesterday morning and on Sky before the game that he'd have Pogba out of the club. Yeah. And he got plenty of stick from the Stretford end. But I would say fair play to Graham. He was right in the first instance, I think. And he had the courage to say it, which isn't always the case with people who are paid large sums of money to go on television and give their opinions. So don't worry, Graham.
He's always been. I think Graham is the best of them there, doing the job on Sky. I don't think it'll bother him.
No.
In the slightest.
No. And it didn't bother him sitting next to the special one either. I think Graham wouldn't feel in any way overawed.
He certainly didn't look. that way.
Overawed.
Anyway. No.
Okay, John, thank you very much. That's John Giles.